Stepanov and
Chinakhov.
There you go.
This is going to be like a
Yeah.
thrilling encounter, I believe.
Yeah, star-studded duos here with Stepanov. And of course, we've seen his record in the Dream Challenge and been a great player for a long time. And Chinakhov, who's had a great season and a great player in himself at a young age, been a great player for a long time, and a guy fighting for a spot on Europe's Mosconi Cup team. And SVB, who name speaks for himself, and his roommate and running buddy, Billy Thorpe. Great talent.
Also fighting for the Mosconi
Oh,
Cup.
absolutely.
We've got
Yeah.
the interviews by Team Russia, and basically what they say is we spent a lot at the table together, both as partners and competitors. I don't think it's a big deal for us, says Ruslan. We should treat our opponents seriously. SVB alone is enough to get all the job done. He's pulling them like a heavy haul truck.
And so the overall score at the moment in the Dream Challenge is 7-5
In a race to 10.
in a race to 10.
Yeah, so unlike the last 2 years, and we'll listen to SVB.
We both got the same mentality, so you should be okay.
Well, me, I'm in difficult situations. I'm going to ask him what to do because definitely has more experience than me and stuff. So usually I get his mindset of what he would do, and then that's pretty much.
I'm just going to tell him to bank it in. No problem.
Yeah, bank it in, baby.
He actually had no idea what they said, but it sounded like it was funny.
Yeah, I was trying to read the lips. I'm actually usually pretty decent at it from being in the pool room so many years. You're trying to maybe spy on a few people trying to bust you, but...
So here we are, we've got the players coming into the arena. Again, the overall score at the moment is 7-5 to Team USA against Russia. And it is the first team to reach 10 points this evening, so potentially a 3-0 from Team USA.
Well, a lot of pressure on Team Russia to start, you would think, especially with two of their best players coming out. Of course, you'd think they'd need this point, but 9-ball pool can change in a hurry, so we'll see how it unfolds.
And it's a race to 5 format each match. We've got a 30-second shot clock. One ball on the spot for the break.
And interesting enough that this is the first time that America has led coming into the last day of the Dream Challenge. Now it's only in its 3rd year, so somewhat in its infancy, but so a different perspective for both teams with both the same goals.
And so just looking at tonight's sort of starting lineup obviously from Team USA, you and Johan have put out Billy, Shane, and then you've got Tyler and Skylar coming up next after that. Two very strong pairings, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, and guys that have spent time together playing, obviously, in the last 18 months. And then Billy and Shane have spent a lot of time together since Billy was probably 15 years old. Shane kind of took him under his wing, and they became good friends. They on a long trip together, this going to China, and now 2.5+ weeks here in Russia. So two very comfortable partners, and I'm sure the same for Ruslan and Stepanov.
But you usually see Shane with Skylar for any sort of doubles matches. So for me personally, I'm quite interested to see how Shane and Billy play together, because it's a World Cup pool pairing that's never happened before as well.
Oh yeah, and it's, the Mosconi Cup, you can't play all the same pairings. You have to change it up. So definitely need that variety, and it's I think Billy's gonna really enjoy it myself.
And of course, we're going to pay much more attention to that heart rate numbers.
Definitely.
The monitors provided by Garmin.
I think it's been such a great value to add to the event. It's definitely opened my eyes up, coming from sort of matchroom pool events. It's just fun and exciting to see, how these players are executing these shots when their heart rates are so high, or even when they're so low as well. So,
and even in the chair, sometimes when they're not performing, how high they can be. So a difficult run out here to start. You can see the 3-4 kind of jumbled up, the 5 on the other side, the 6 up table with the 7 back down. So a lot of work for U.S., but if they can get through this rack, it probably do a lot of good for them.
Yeah, dry break by Team Russia.
Okay, perfect angle here to slide over. Okay, is he going to bump the 4 Yeah, got him elevated, and that's probably going to slow them down. Maybe not from making the 3, but you can see the 4 doesn't pass the 6. So it may be something like if he can get at this 3 even, he's got one heck of a stretch, and he's only got the right side of the cue ball. Maybe a cross bank on the 4 to stay offensive if he can get this 3 down. Oh, he missed it.
Well, surprisingly, I've seen Shane missing those jack-type shots way too often.
Really? Well, he's a man that doesn't get himself jacked up very often, so... but you're a big pool fan yourself, Michael, so I'm sure you've watched a lot of it.
Well, apparently Shane doesn't like the situations when he cannot have the full cue ball. I mean, like when asked about the only one advice for those pool players out there, he told just stay away from the rail.
Oh, yeah.
And basically that situation was probably the same.
It's about the same. And watch out for the side. And he's going to actually get a great angle on the 4 to draw over for the 5. So a little fortune, but he had to take a little chance coming across. Again, he needs to gather an angle on the 5. He doesn't want to fall straight. Okay, and there's that heavy draw on the cue ball, so watch out. And I think another friendly bump. A little less on the 9, he would have certainly been behind it. So he should just kind of pound across, straight across. You can handle an angle on the 6, or you can handle somewhat full. Ooh, so that's the type of shot also, we've seen it to where when you have to elevate speed on this table, accuracy is sometimes lost.
Just because it's so hard to get that speed.
Well, that and just the contact between cue ball and object ball can vary a little bit because of the slick conditions. Okay, now Billy's faced with a very difficult offensive shot.
Once again, Jeremy, you were talking about like more cue ball deflection in these conditions of new felt.
Yeah, and there's less friction too when the cue ball hits the object ball. So you figure it to grab the object ball a little bit more, maybe like an outer table or a table you practice on more often, or even tournament tables you play on more often.
I believe Billy still can cut this in.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was going to say. If he wants to go offensive here, I can't blame him. Okay, so just a little thick. So pretty similar to yesterday's match, the first couple of games to start day 2, and quite honestly, day 1, there were a few struggles, but play got a lot better quickly. And I talked to Ruslan right before we got started here, and we were talking about the variance in his heart rate between day 1 and day 2.
It was very different, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I asked him if it was because you maybe got to play a little bit more in day 2. He didn't get to shoot many balls in day 1, and he thought it was because he felt a little colder, mainly, like his body was trying to warm itself up. So
he was wearing a like an
undershirt.
Well, once again, Ruslan got a kind of...
Watch out for the 8.
That is what worries me a little.
Yeah, and
here definitely repositioned not very good position.
Is the kiss shot on? I think it is. The problem is here, he has to hit it slowly, I think. And again, here's where the slick conditions, he needs a little inside English, meaning left English, to throw the 8, and it doesn't grab quite so much. So he may hit this 8 into the bottom rail. But the other problem is the 7 going to end up on top of the 8 because he has to hit it at a light speed.
And so they've taken their extension here, Russia. Obviously just take a little bit more time at the table.
And going for that kiss shot Jeremy just mentioned.
Yeah, and we'll see if the left English really grabs the 8 and throws it to the right for the make. Yeah, but you see it was on the bottom of the pocket.
Very nice call, Jeremy, once again. We've seen plenty of left side on the cue ball.
But Russia's going to hold serve, it appears, here in the opening game. I'm interested to see, with opportunity, if it comes up, if questions are needed or maybe some direction is needed, how much Shane offers.
Yeah. In these doubles matches, it's down to the 2 players in the pairing to decide who breaks first. Am I right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So naturally, sort of Shane would be looking to just go out and take the break first.
Well, Billy's a very capable breaker, and just like the other day, we saw Skyler really break well in a singles match, and then him and Shane followed up a doubles. So they went ahead and let Skyler break
Gotcha.
first. Yeah.
Well, it's all things that they have to talk about, don't they, when they come into these pairings, and the players are getting to know each other so well. And I think personally that's what I like about these trips as well. They all have to like room together. They all have to spend so much time with one another, and I think that's why it's also so important when they come in earlier ahead of the Moscone Cup, because they all gel, and that's what we kind of felt in London last year, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Okay, and maybe another dry break with the 8 hanging in the corner. And again, a very difficult starter with a tough layout.
I was watching Shane just earlier before they came onto the TV arena, and Shane's breaks were just so strong. It was unreal. It must just be so different when you obviously come out into the main arena as such.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's how confident he is. A lot of guys on the slick table, any miss hit on that break at so much speed, you can have some real problems. And he's a confident man when it comes to not only playing, but obviously breaking the balls, and he didn't back off at all there. So this is one you have to, if you put in the right spin to try and get around on the 2, not an easy shot. And it may not take so much to spin. Yeah, that's what happens there. Heavy deflection on the cue ball, and he hit it very thick.
So what's Team USA looking to do here?
Oh, they're in a good spot here. This is where it's a little tricky. They're going to play the 1-8, whether it's a kiss shot or a combination. But they have to be aware of making both the 1 and the 8, and with the 2 pinned on the side rail. And this is where that direction may come in, where the experience. And I think he's told Billy, hey, shoot the 1. I think you can shoot it easy enough to come right up into the 3 with the cue ball. Now watch the scratch off the 3 in the right side pocket. That angle is very offered. Oh, 9 ball. Early winner.
Go on, Team USA.
That's right.
He's like, what? And that's 1-1 for USA against Russia in the first match of this evening.
I think that was the fastest track of all the event.
Yes, it was.
Certainly was.
Yeah, that was a quickie, that's for sure. And I think, Shane has really taken another role with this team. Last year, honestly say that, he wanted to win, but he didn't. There were some other things besides his great play that he was trying to learn as well.
Sure.
But now this year, he's offering a lot of advice for the other players. He's talking to Johan and I about the other players, where his insight is important, and especially with somebody he knows so well like Billy.
So you mean to say that recently, previously, that didn't happen that much with Shane?
Well, Shane's technique is different than most. So when you're
communicating with the team during the Moscone Cup.
Well, no, he did, but it wasn't. It's almost like it was more of what was asked, and he was certainly
instead
there.
of actually just wanting to as such. But I think the
exactly.
teams are
Now
so
he's
different.
more enthusiastic, obviously, about this one, right?
Yeah, and he's very motivated about his own game, and I think that also kind of bleeds off into these other guys.
2 balls down and 1-7, an early combo for Team Russia.
Yeah, and one that Ruslan should bury. Always when you're shooting a combination, when there's a little distance between the object ball and cue ball. All right, doesn't want to maybe make them both. Not the worst thing in the world, but when you shoot the 2, you could get a little closer because they're going to have to get a little tidy on the 3 ball. Okay, he's going to put the inside spin, kind of drift down 2 rails towards the 10, towards the 2, excuse me. Okay, and this is that distance and that angle that can become a little questionable. So he may have to travel 2 rails above the 4 here, Michael, to get a nice clean shot on the 3 ball, like where he's looking now.
That's for sure, right? No way he will be able to hold the cue ball for the 3.
No, and he can't get into the 5 to open up those 2 balls. Ooh, okay, so cue ball might run a bit more than desired.
Well,
So
he's fine. I think he can use the 5 just to stop the ball off the rail.
Yeah, but interesting, the 4 doesn't pass the 9 in what would be the upper or lower right now if you're looking at your screen.
Yeah, it's
so
available to the right hand side or left hand corner pocket, where the 3 is right now.
yeah, but the problem is if he goes into the 5, if say he lays on the rail or with a funny angle, it could become a little difficult on the 4.
So that's Russia calling their extension.
I think he would like to hit ball first here on the 5 instead of going into the rail behind it. We'll see. And if he hits it thin, he may creep up and get on top of the 4 with the cue ball. So a touchy shot. Oh, okay.
He's on the wrong side of the 4.
But he can stop, right?
Just a bit, right? Once again, I think the 9 ball is there if he needs to maneuver the cue ball just a little bit further to the right side.
Yeah, I think for the most part, a great overhead here that just all about making this 4. He'll have a little bit of a cut on the 5, but he's close enough to it. He should be able to kill the cue ball for the 9. All right, they don't have an extension anymore. Okay, he went forward a bit. So now he's going to have to spin this either with a little inside to check on the right side of the 9 or a little outside to come behind the 9 and play it in the same pocket as the 5.
What about going 3 rails around?
Well, I think it's a little too thick to want to move it that far. I think anyways. And that thick hit, but they're sliding in right now.
He used the whole corner pocket there.
And that's that deflection we were talking about with the heavy left spin. And he's already had a couple of those that kind of just, you might say, squeaked their way in the hole.
So that's 2-1 to Team Russia in this first match of the final day of the Dream Challenge. And it's just worth mentioning, obviously, it's USA versus Russia, but it's Team USA's race to the Mosconi Cup, isn't it, Jeremy? So
Oh, certainly.
we've got Skylar and Shane, who are already in the team, with the other 4 players trying to battle it out, basically, for you and Johan to pick them for next week. We're going to be making 2 announcements next week at some point. And I guess you and Jeremy going to take, you and Johan going to take some time, and you just obviously been looking at the players, how they've been playing here at the Kremlin, and obviously in this event as well, in such a similar style format to the Mosconi Cup. A lot of pressure resting on their shoulders, aren't there?
Yes, there is, and that's how it should be, quite honestly. They're playing for a lot of other guys that aren't going to make the team this year, and they're playing for one guy that's not going to make it from this little nucleus, and they're playing for their country and some darn good prize money as well. So.
Definitely our first increase for this year, which is obviously, which I think that's just touching base on what we were speaking about with Shane earlier. He seems obviously to be communicating more with the team, but I think a lot of these players, their turnaround for the recent Mosconi Cups is they've seen how much this event can actually grow and how much of an impact it can make on their career. And for them to actually fully get behind it like they are doing now, it's just great to see. And we're only going to see it evolve even further.
Okay, got one down, but he lost the cue ball to the bottom rail. He's going to get, well, if the 9 doesn't get bumped here, okay, he's going to get a little bit of a look at the 2, but he may bank this cross side. I know it looks like kind of a crazy shot, but he can run the cue ball maybe 1 rail at the 3, and the safety is very difficult, Michael. So I wouldn't be surprised if Shane tries to make this bank in the corner. I mean, excuse me, on the side by the 7.
Can he see enough of the 2 ball just to drive it towards that side pocket you are talking about?
Yeah, he definitely can bank it, that's for sure. He's looking to maybe play the 2 off the 8, where the 2 kind of carries towards the 6 and run the cue ball up the table. And this is, go ahead.
Sorry, Jeremy, this is where the players do really need that 60 seconds after the break, don't they?
Yeah, because there's, especially, I was going to comment a minute ago, I really like seeing all the different layouts when we're playing with the rules we're playing under. You see, really the guys have to have all the game. They can't just, be a break and run kind of a fest, you might say.
Of course.
So yeah, with these conditions, I definitely think that the 60 seconds is probably going to be a good thing.
I guess there is a kiss on the 3 going off the 2.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out if he's going to lose the cue ball any kind of way. Now he's looking for the bank, and I don't blame him, just because it sets up so nice. Oh, he's missed it high, and the high side was the safer side, but okay. So
What's Billy looking to do here?
Well, it depends on how much he can get of that 2 ball. We'll see. He had a similar shot, I believe it was yesterday, where he tried to bank the 2 back up and draw past the scratch we were talking about, Michael. And remember, he tried to come behind the 4-9, kind of similar here. He may have to try and play the 2 up, and he's going for the kick if he's hitting high ball. Okay, great shot. Watch out for the scratch.
It's in.
Well, that's pretty unlucky.
I like you, Jeremy, talking about your players playing for the country. I think this is the part which was missing, throughout these recent years when the Team USA was on the losing side.
Oh yeah, and that's a lot of appreciating where you're at and appreciating the work and honestly making the players that didn't make the team from America. There's a lot of great players in America that making them appreciate what you've done.
Of course.
The hard work is important. I think when I played, that was a very easy motivating factor for myself anyways. Okay, a little funny here. He's got anytime you're playing the 7 to the side, you want a very natural angle to get where you're going with the cue ball. Oh, oof, okay. So
he's nice.
Yeah. Stepanov, though, I see struggling with the cue ball just a little bit to start day 3.
Well, I wonder if fatigue could be a factor if talking about Konstantin, because yesterday he had to play 3 matches, actually, more than anyone.
He's in trouble here, isn't he? This is like, besides being on the rail, this does, I mean, the TV can fool us on the angles, but this does not look very sweet, because we talked about it before. If you put draw stroke with the side spin, the cue ball can very much stall on you and not grab. So we'll see if he puts a lot of right English or he got a lot out of the cue ball. That was nice.
Well, you know what? Also, there is a kind of a specialty shot for these kind of situations when you almost shoot the jump shot into the 8 and just trying to get on the rail and off it to get the rolling from the cue ball.
Yeah. Michael's talking about really getting into the rail quickly with the cue ball with a little more power
or
and
even just basically getting on top of the
right,
cushion.
Letting the cue ball get up in the air a little bit, so it gets a little bit more of the meat of the cue ball, so it gives you a little bit more bounce. And Team Russia out to the exact lead they needed, I think.
So that's 3-1 to Team Russia in this opening match of the final day of the Dream Challenge.
Well, actually, I believe that Team Russia are the underdogs in this very clash. Of course, Ruslan and Costa have all the experience there. They played, I think, at least 9 times together at the Moscone, at the World Cup of Pool, sorry. But at the same time, their playing styles are so different.
Well, Ruslan must have started at a very young age, only 26 years old if he played 9 times.
Yeah, I think the first year Stepanov was featured at the World Cup of Pool was 2006.
What a strong break.
Well, great start here with a nice cupcake shot on the 2 with the 4 hanging.
What?
Well, for these guys, kind of like an easy one, basically, a cupcake. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah, I haven't said it in a minute, but yeah. Oh, okay. So again, not hitting the pocket so cleanly, but still got it down. Okay, so this is a pretty easy one here with just some right spin coming over to the long rail for the 5 in the side. Really, any kind of work here is maybe from the 7 to the 8. Thing about this position, though, now it looks to be most likely 4-1 after these are cleared off by Team Russia. But say USA breaks and runs out. Well, it only takes really one mistake from Russia to let USA back in this match. that's the beautiful thing about the races to 5.
And what a pairing to let back at the table. Someone, obviously Shane Van Boening and Billy Thorpe, you don't really want to give them any opportunity, do you? Because they're fully going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and the matches change so quickly. Just come back where the cue ball's at now. Yeah, it's right to the center of the table. And that's a great drill for people out there, as I do that a lot, is just play shots from where the cue ball's at and try to come back where it's at. But because a lot of times you're in that position to where you're shooting the 3, and if you just get the cue ball back to where you're at now for the 4, that's the prime position. And it's a great little drill to work on.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. I'll definitely practice that
there
when
you
I
go.
get home.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you will.
I also think that this kind of drill might be helpful for your safety play.
Oh, yeah. Well, it develops a lot of trust because the most information you can get shooting a shot is where you start the cue ball from. So if you're trying to get back to that position, well, you get to kind of tuned in better, you might say.
So that's 4-1 to Russia. Quite a speedy match so far. So they are on the hill to taking the first match of the evening for the final day.
Yeah, in the first 2 days we had 6 matches, and if we go all the way to the end here, we'll have 7 tonight.
Oh, goodness
some
me.
stats for Ruslan Chinakhov and his performance at the Dream Challenge overall. Well, let's put it straight. It's dreadful so far in terms of matches won and lost. It's 2-8, believe it or not, and he's
Poor
the worst
Ruslan.
of all of them. Like in terms of Rex won and lost, it's -19.
Okay, it looks like, is the 1 going to get up? And the bank's, well, no, maybe the bank is there for Billy Thorpe if he wants to go aggressive, playing the 1 back underneath the 4 and the 8.
I'd like to see that. I always like to see an aggressive bank shot.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely more exciting.
Okay, and interesting enough that the 2 heart rates for the Russians in the chair with a 4-1 lead are higher than the 2 Americans at the table trailing 4-1.
Very interesting indeed.
Well, actually, I'm trying to put some notes in terms of heart rate, and Ruslan right now, he just repeated the record set by Max Eberle yesterday at 145.
Did he not reach 150 at all yesterday, Max?
Okay, that's going to get away from him. He was trying to get the cue ball behind the 5 and possibly the 1 up underneath the 4 and 8.
I'm sort of tilting my head slightly to try and see.
Yeah, that two-dimensional doesn't change much. I learned that trying that many times. Okay, the 2 doesn't pass the 3, I don't think, so he may have to either put a lot of right spin and just float above the 2 or go up and down the table. Okay. So this is one of Ruslan's best shots, killing the cue ball. He'll kill this with a lot of low spin coming to the backside of the 3.
Watch out for throw, though.
Yeah, but this is one you hit with a little more straight draw. So the throw really shouldn't be there. The main thing is don't let up on the stroke.
Just elaborate to me as to when you say kill the cue ball.
Meaning slow it down.
Yeah,
So
okay,
you grip the cue ball with different Englishes to speed it up or slow it down, depending on what you need for position.
So next shot is probably going to be a safety on the 4.
I don't know. He may try and drive through that 9 ball, maybe, or he may elevate and just try and get above the 7-9. He's close enough to the 3. If he elevated, the accuracy should be okay.
5 seconds left.
Well, they still have their extension, I believe, so, and they've taken it.
Yeah, right.
He's not elevating much. So maybe he's going into the 7, just cannon into the 7 a bit. Oh, he went into the 9. So here's that safety you were talking about. And that's a good percentage play if it works out. Now, I guess the 4 doesn't pass the 8.
No, it does not.
Okay. But I think that was a smart play, not losing control. You're up 4-1. I know it makes you think maybe I can go for something a little dicey, but Russia needs to secure this point, and you have to play the percentages.
the one rail escape is there, and we see SVB measuring once again using that system. Jimmy Reed.
Yes, it is, and I think for his natural aiming point, the side pocket might be in the way a little bit, so he's going to have to make an adjustment for that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he makes this with a lot of heavy left spin.
Having seen so many shots by Shane, he is the favorite to make it, actually.
Oh, I think so. I agree with you totally, Michael. And he also knows to miss it on that side to where the 4 banks back up if it doesn't fall in the upper right pocket.
Well, this is an easy bank cross corner on the 4 ball. Just a half ball hit, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the 4 is a little. See, it's up above that first diamond, so I think it's a little higher up than you think. Watch out for. Yeah, I think that was better if going for the safety, I think.
But he left a shot.
Yeah, he did.
What's he thinking here?
Well, I think he can bank the 4 long rail all the way down by the to the bottom rail and kill the cue ball and let the 9 and 8 play as cover.
So what's Shane saying?
Yeah. Oh, he's putting him behind the. Okay. This is a little touchier shot on the slick table, but you see, just banking the 4 all the way down with a high left ball, and using the 8-9 for cover. Now he's going to try and go behind the 5, and we'll see.
I think that's what Billy was originally saying, and then obviously Shane.
Well, he got a little unlucky there not to contact the 8 or 9. If he contacts the 8 or 9, he may not get the snooker, but he's probably not going to leave an offensive shot.
I think the 4 ball had so much weight on it.
Yeah.
It would have been seen inevitably.
Yeah, and that's what I say. He may not got the snooker, but it may not have played so offensive for Team Russia. I'm surprised he's elevating here. I thought he would just roll this in maybe and take the shot. Oh, he hit it well, though.
Did you see the cue ball hopping just a little?
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of people don't realize how often the cue ball gets off the surface, not only when you're jacked up, of course, but even on some level strokes when you're on the bottom of the ball.
Every time your cue is not level, it actually just takes off the cloth.
Draw strokes, mainly.
For a millimeter or so.
Right. Okay, so in prime position here to cut this match to 1 point. That's 7-6.
I'll let Russia take a point here, and then USA can take the next 3 points,
Well,
just for a fair game.
There we go. Well, they got the first point yesterday, and I was super impressed the way the guys recovered, stayed positive, and won 4 out of the next 5. So I think he can just pretty much stop his cue ball here for the 9 in the side if he wants. If he feels like he's going to get too close to it, he'll draw it back for the 9 in the same corner.
And just hear those Russian fans.
They're going to go crazy. So that's 5-1 to Team Russia in the first match of the final day of the Dream Challenge, and it takes the overall score 7-6 USA against Russia. It is a 1st to 10 overall in this tournament. And up next, we're going to be seeing